So we have some brand new details for the Spider-Man attraction that's going to be swinging its way into Disney California Adventure Park in Disneyland and Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris. So let's dive into all of that up next. Hi there Waltoneers, I'm Jack and this is of course DSNY Newscast at Disney Springs and Walt Disney World. And first of all, sorry that this video isn't in a more relevant location for today's topic, but as you're probably already aware, there's not a huge amount of Marvel stuff at Walt Disney World at the moment, so I'm guessing Disney Springs will have to do for today's video. But anyways, let's get straight into the topic. As with Galaxy's Edge opening at the end of May and August in Disneyland and Walt Disney World, the attention is going to begin to shift towards Disney's other big projects taking place in multiple parks around the world, such as the Frozen themed lands, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and importantly the Marvel Superhero Universe lands that are coming to Disneyland, Disneyland Paris and Hong Kong Disneyland. And given the incredible $2 billion box office performance of Avengers Endgame, you just know that this is only going to be the beginning of Marvel attractions at Disney parks. So with that in mind, now let's discuss the Spider-Man attraction that was previously announced last November and December to be coming to both Disney California Adventure at Disneyland Resort and also the Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris. As at the beginning of April, this Outside Ears Twitter account gave some details of the upcoming attraction, and then this past weekend they released these blueprints for the attraction. Now this info has been distributed fairly widely online by various Disney blog sites, but we've reached out to the account itself to verify the validity of these permits, and according to Outside Ears, plans that you see here were made publicly available in paper copies at the Chessy Town Hall on May 2nd, which is where Disneyland Paris is located. So as I suspected, we're probably looking at a similar case to what we saw in September of 2018 when we received these details of the overall expansion plans due to French regulations that require public viewing of plans and early glimpses from a local governmental preview. So despite these concept renderings lacking much of the artistic flair and details that Imagineering concept art does display, they are more along the lines of standard architectural renderings instead, like what we saw for the now cancelled Eastern Gateway proposal in Anaheim back in 2017. But now let's get to the detailed overview permits, as first of all, the Outside Ears Twitter account revealed this master permit for the entire reimagining of the backlot area at Walt Disney Studios Park, clearly showing the exterior changes that are to be made to Rock and Roller Coaster when it closes on September 1st, 2019, to begin its transformation into the unnamed Iron Man roller coaster. And this aligns with the concept art that we received back in December that showed the substantial changes to the exterior. But now we have this new rendering of the new perforated aluminium curved facade that will completely replace the current flat exterior to this attraction. And then we've also got these permits for the layout of the reimagined attraction. But obviously, because it's reusing the same building, these plans don't really reveal all too much in the way of new details, except that this attraction will now have better queue management for standby, fast pass and single rider lines, and the pre-show rooms will remain in their current location, with this most likely being where you'll encounter this scene of Tony Stark's workshop within the concept art here, as in story terms this entire area is meant to be the European arm of Stark Industries, with this part of the area, such as the Spider-Man attraction building, supposedly being an old retrofitted Stark Industries warehouse facility, whereas you can easily see the contrast between the Worldwide Engineering Brigade and the building for the Iron Man roller coaster, which is most likely meant to be a modern Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters instead. And in addition to this, we've also got these renderings for the show building where Disney Junior Live used to be hosted and will most likely become a flexible space within Walt Disney Studios Park. But don't forget that Disney have also mentioned that Doctor Strange will also be represented within the Marvel Superhero Universes at Disneyland and Disneyland Paris as well. And right up at the very back of the backlot area, the old Blockbuster Cafe is going to be transformed into a Pym Technologies inspired restaurant themed to Ant-Man and the Wasp. But now let's get back to the Spider-Man attraction, as it's going to see the demolition of the Armageddon show building, with with Disneyland Paris being required to publish these plans for the new building. And as part of this, we have these publicly available permits that show us the entire attraction layout. And at first glance, this looks to be using a very similar ride system to that of Toy Story Mania, as it will supposedly be implementing 3D screens and a web shooter component. However, we also know that the ride vehicles will seat 8 people, and the screens will supposedly be a dome projection screen instead of a flat variation like we see in Toy Story Mania. Now, what's important to consider here is, despite how similar that these plans look to a ride like Toy Story Mania, just consider for a second that if you were to have seen the early plans for Flight of Passage at Disney's Animal Kingdom, with a massive large format dome projection screen and the ride vehicles extending out into the screen, you could be forgiven for thinking that it was just another Soarin' ride system. And though they certainly share similar technology, Soarin' and Flight of Passage offer greatly different ride experiences, from a 2D tour of the world to a dipping and diving 3D thrilling experience on Pandora. So despite the Spider-Man attraction sharing similar ride DNA as that of Toy Story Mania, most likely they will offer uniquely different experiences. As Walt Disney Imagineering have previously touted on Disney Parks blog, the use of practical effects and set pieces along with never before seen technology, meaning that this will be implementing more of a traditional dark ride component and clearly has space built within the attraction layout for show scenes that can be seen in these highlighted areas here. So it will definitely be more than just screens. But also from the outside ears account, we now know that this attraction will not be trackless, but we are still waiting on the official word from Disney on what exact ride system is going to be used, as we could see this attraction implement the technology patented for a ride vehicle that is suspended, similar in a way to Peter Pan's flight, but the addition of this ability to swing from side to side, mimicking the motion of Spider-Man. However, we'll be sure to follow up on all of that at a later stage. Although that's not all, as this permit also shows us the entrance for the attraction, the covered standby and fast pass queue space, the 2 pre-show rooms to set up the story for the ride, and then the individually located load and unload areas, along with the customary merchandise location when exiting the attraction. But don't forget that this Spider-Man attraction, which is rumoured to be targeting a 2021 timeframe for Disneyland Paris, is also being built as Phase 1 in Disney California Adventure, with the first phase supposedly set to open at that park in Disneyland Resort sometime in the second half of 2020. Although considering that Disney are bringing this attraction to multiple parks, clearly they have big hopes for this never before seen technology, and it must be offering enough of a different experience to warrant being built in the same park as that of Toy Story Mania. But I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about this attraction at the D23 Expo in late August of this year. But now let's keep the Marvel news going for today, as Avengers Endgame came out around 10 days ago. But before we get into this any further, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame as of yet, jump to the time code on the screen right here, right now, so therefore you skip it and we won't spoil Endgame for you. But the big news here is the fact that this movie has managed to cross $619 million domestically in the US and $2.2 billion globally in only 10 days of its release, which is currently putting it on the trajectory to surpass the highest grossing movie of all time, unadjusted for inflation, as Avatar has the top spot with $2.78 billion. But Endgame's box office is only one piece of this massive puzzle, as within Endgame, Marvel also made some massive story decisions that will forever affect the direction of the next phase of the Marvel movies. As with the deaths of Tony Stark and Black Widow, the cinematic universe will now be less grounded in the limitations of Earth-based origin stories and will now go cosmic, as we saw in the new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer that was released yesterday, with Marvel also introducing and exploring the possibilities of interdimensional and parallel universes. But overall, more than anything, Endgame, in my opinion, manages to hit the reset button in the best way possible, by not only tying up so many narrative threads, but most importantly, opening up almost twice as many for future movies, such as Steve Rogers passing the Captain America moniker to Sam Wilson, that will surely transition the Captain America narrative from the movies to the Disney Plus streaming service, as we know that there is a Falcon and Winter Soldier show in production, the combination of a dynamic of Thor working alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy in Volume 3, the potential fractured timelines that can be seen within the next Doctor Strange movie that might see a hybrid Hulk crossover, and then the beginning of the Eternal storyline, Adam Warlock, and the possibility of Galactus as the next big villain. So overall, I was happily left with more questions than answers, which is exactly what great storytelling should accomplish, if executed correctly. But now, it's over to you, Waltoniers. I would like to know, if you could create a Marvel attraction at any one of the Disney parks around the world, which Marvel franchise would it be themed around, what would the narrative be, and also what would the ride system be for that attraction? And of course, don't forget to put the timestamp for where the hidden Mickey appeared somewhere within this video along with your suggestion or your comment to be in with a chance to win a DSNY Newscast or Waltonier enamel pin. And congratulations to this Waltonier here for winning this suggestion from a previous video where we're talking all about the upcoming changes to Disney's Hollywood studios. And so that's it for today. So go ahead and subscribe down below if you're new to this channel. Hit that notification icon so therefore if YouTube does its job properly, hopefully you always receive a notification on a Tuesday and a Thursday when these videos come out. And if you've enjoyed today's video from Walt Disney World in Disney Springs, give this video a massive thumbs up as it really does help this channel out. And I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.